Hey folks, back with another video. Let's dive into what stories got my attention today. Beginning with Syria. In Syria, at least 56 rebels were killed on Monday after the Russian planes targeted their military training camp in northwestern Syria with airstrikes, according to a monitoring group. Now, the British-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said that the camp belonged to Falaq ash-Sham, an alliance of Sunni Islamist rebel groups that is aligned with Turkey. Now, the watchdog said that the number of wounded rose to 100, adding that search operations were still ongoing. It added that the death toll is likely to increase as most of the wounded are in serious condition. The city of Idlib in northwestern Syria is the last rebel stronghold in the country's war-torn. Now, the Russia-backed Syrian government forces began an offensive in the region last year, provoking concern at the United Nations. Now, Moscow and Tehran have backed the forces of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, while Ankara has been supporting opposition forces since the uprising started against al-Assad in 2011. Now, it seems soon Syria will get rid of the terrorist organizations. However, I would urge President Bashar al-Assad to implement real reforms in the country and work to transition current government into more democratic, more rule of law, strong property rights, and a free market system. Now, the way you get rid of terrorists is by taking away their legitimate grievances. And when you have a country that has a rule of law, the terrorists have a very small chance of coming out in any shape or form and get any support. And I would urge them to have a more integrated government. Now, moving on, according to some new but unconfirmed reports, it seems that the war in the Caucasus region between Armenia and Azerbaijan may be getting hot with the entry of Russia. Now, the Russians have rushed in their electronic warfare system known as Belladonna or Karuska, which is an electronic jamming system which is now credited with knocking out at least 9 Turkish Bayraktar armed drones used by Azerbaijan to target Armenia. Now, the system is now operating around the sensitive Russian military base at Gyumri in Armenia, which is far from the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict area. Now, Krasucha, sorry about that, the Krasucha jamming system was brought to Armenia to counter the successful use of both armed drones such as the Bayraktar and suicide drones like the Israeli-made loitering munition known as Harop. Now, the Turks have heavily advertised the success of Bayraktar in the 3 theaters of Syria, Libya, and now in Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Turkey and Azerbaijan have released numerous quote-unquote kill videos of the drone blowing up tanks, armored vehicles, and trucks, and naturally killing many soldiers in the process. However, I believe the Russian entry into the war is going to further complicate the peace effort, especially the longer the war continues with Russia's entry. One must also keep in mind the fact that Russia is bound by the defense pact with Armenia. Hopefully, they can come up with a workable peace deal. Moving on to Belarus, it seems that the Belarusian opposition have called for a national strike to force President Alexander Lukashenko to quit. Now, I think this could be a game changer. However, Lukashenko had defied an ultimatum to surrender power by midnight and challenging his opponents to make good on a threat to paralyze the country with strikes. Now, if sustained, the strikes could open a new phase in crisis, testing whether the opposition has the mass support it needs to bring enterprises across the country of 9.5 million people to a halt. Previously, the opposition had mounted some strikes at state run factories, but they were not sustained. Local media reported that groups of strikers at many major state controlled enterprises. However, the Prime Minister's spokeswoman said all the country's major industrial companies were working normally. Now, on one street, there were black clad officers in masks who poured out of vans, detaining people and dragging them away. Footage from news website tut.by showed. One group of students sprinted away after being dispersed by police. Now, footage from the Nasha Niva outlet showed around the footage from Nasha Niva outlet showed this. Now, around 50,000 people have since been arrested during a crackdown on mass demonstrations since it started in August. Now, nearly all opposition leaders have fled or jailed. Now, I thought to myself, what is President Alexander Lukashenko is thinking? And to me, it seems like he's playing the let's stall until winter, because he believes that once winter comes, then nature will be on his side, to say the least, as it will become very cold and snowy. Moving on to the South Asia region, the United States and India are preparing to sign an agreement to share satellite intelligence, media reports have said, as the two sides seek to enhance security cooperation. Now, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Defense Secretary Mark Esper arrived in New Delhi on Monday ahead of a regular bilateral security meeting on Tuesday. Pompeo and Esper will meet with Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as Indian External Affairs Minister Jaishankar and Defense Minister Rajnath Singh for talks before leaving India on Tuesday. And Pompeo will then travel to Sri Lanka and Maldives and Indonesia following his stop in New Delhi. Now, the Wall Street Journal and Indian media outlets reported that the two sides were preparing to sign an intelligence sharing deal that would give India access to US map and satellite images that will enhance the accuracy of weapons and drones, which are expected to be used increasingly for surveillance along the border during the winter. Now, I think this is a good step towards building a credible deterrence. The more the various countries like India, Australia, Japan, and a number of other countries in the region come together to show solidarity against the Chinese Communist Party's regime, the higher the chance that we will not have to go on a full-scale war, and that we can come up with some kind of a solution, let's to say the least. Anyhow, I just hope that we can find out a way to get the Chinese Communist Party to at least apologize to their own people, if not to the world. Moving on, some more good news in the Middle East. It seems the Israeli officials now believe that Oman may be next in line to normalize relations with Israel in the near future. Now, the Channel 12 news sources said the Channel 12 news has said that sources in the government have claimed an announcement was even potentially possible before the US president election on November 3rd, though they stressed it could take more time as Muscat would likely wait to see where political winds are blowing in Washington before making any major decisions. Now, Oman hailed the accords between Israel and the two Gulf states last month, expressing hope that they would, quote, contribute to achieving a comprehensive, just, and lasting peace in the Middle East. End quote. As an aside, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had visited Oman in 2018, the first trip by an Israeli leader in over 2 decades, in what was seen as a sign of warming ties between the Jewish state and the Sunni Arab world. Now, as it is known by now, I am fully in favor of peace deals between the Jewish state and her Arab neighbors, both near and far. And I hope more peace deals are in the pipeline that can be realized soon, which could usher in a more peaceful Middle East, which I believe the region needs more than anything else. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked the video, then hit that like button and hit that subscribe button for future updates. Write in the comments your thoughts, criticisms, and anything I might have missed. And I will see you in the next video.